If you watched my video last night, you know my son and I went and saw Lane 8. I wasn't going to talk about the show today because I don't have any pictures or videos, but there were a couple things that happened last night that I just feel like I want to share. First of all, it was just wonderful spending that time with my son. We walked around downtown Raleigh a little bit looking for a place to eat. Found a little hole in the wall that had terrific food. We're going to definitely go back, try some other things on their menu. But then we get to the show early. That's just me, get there early, you know, almost first in line. Well, we were first in line last night. And the venue tapes up a piece of paper with their cell phone policy, you know, about, you know, not using them. And there were a couple other people showed up and we were having a discussion about what they do with the cell phones. I said, we left ours in the car. And other people said, you know, they heard they confiscated them. Other people said they heard that they tape over the cameras, so weren't really sure what was going to happen. But ultimately what it turns out is when you walk in, they do tape up the camera, they let you have your cell phone. And then we saw a couple of the security people at the show, if somebody had their cell phone out, would respectfully walk over to them and ask them to put it away. So two really ironic things is when you walked in, they had these papers taped up everywhere, almost on every column. Had them in the men's room. I'm sure they had it in the women's room. And but at one point, the lights are down. Fairchild is playing, which tremendous new respect for Fairchild. If you haven't listened to his music, the only place I've really been able to find it is on SoundCloud. Go out there, listen to it. It's just great. But you know, so anyway, back to the show. Lights are down. We turn around behind us, and there's somebody with their cell phone out, with the flashlight on, reading the sign about the cell phone policies. My son and I looked, was like, well, that's kind of ironic there. And then the other thing was we were standing on a little balcony area, right? So we're above people. And anyway, this guy was in front of me. And I'm looking, I can look over him, and he's got his cell phone out. And he's reading a Thump article, which I'll include a link to the article in the description below, discussing Lane 8's policy with cell phones and why he decided to not have them at his shows and things like that. And it just struck me as odd that he's reading while he's at the show about not supposed to be using your cell phone. So thankfully, I think he finished the article, put his cell phone away, and that was the last we saw of it. So there was that. It was a great show. Again, you know, I think you listen to people's music and it's enjoyable, and when you see them live, it's just in a lot of cases it's just so much better and so much richer. For me, Lane 8's music just came more alive. I was listening to it today at work, and it just was like a whole new meaning. So that was terrific. Like I mentioned earlier, Fairchild was a great. I wish that it was easier to find more of his music. I hope he blows up so we can listen to more of it. So that was good. Like I said, spending the time with my son, just both of us getting lost in the music and moving, and that was terrific. And one final story that I will share is last night while we were waiting to get into the venue, Lane 8 walks up. He doesn't go in through the back entrance, although they really don't have much of a back entrance. Here he comes through the front door, and they're unlocking it to let him in, and I recognize him. I'm like, whoa. And so I introduced myself, introduced my son, and I just talk. I talk and talk. I don't know how long I talked, but about 3 or 5 minutes, and he respectfully stood there shaking his head, acknowledging what I was saying, you know, thanked us. And when I was done, he kind of shook our hand, and off he went inside. It was like, I was like the total fanboy at that point, probably like I was going to say a teenager, you know, meeting their star, but my son, who's a teenager, just kind of sat there looking at me like, oh, Dad, I don't know if I embarrassed him or what, but it was great, you know, so that just, again, added to the evening. So that's what I have for you tonight. I hope you have a great evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.